All right. Welcome to the November 2025 meeting of the City of Somerville Interim Climate Action Commission. Um, First, thank you so much. I believe it was Alexis, you facilitated the October meeting, so thank you for stepping in and managing that. Have we sorted taking the minutes for the November for this meeting? All right, Alexis, you're my double hero now. So thank you for doing both of those things. Let's start with some introductions, a little round robin. Let's see. So I guess I'll just start. My name is Larry Yu. I am chair of the Interim Climate Action Commission. I live in the Davis Square area, and I work for the Brisbane Group by day. Um, I'm gonna popcorn around. So Courtney, do you want to take it away and then name somebody else?
Sure. I'm Courtney Coslow. I live in Lagoon Square in Ward 5, and I am an affordable housing developer at Beacon Communities. Alexis?
My name is Alexis Washburn. I live in Teal Square. And by day, I work at an environmental nonprofit called Emerald Cities Collaborative. And I will pass it to Eliza.
Hello, Eliza Johnston. I'm a resident in Ward 6, Davis Square, and I am an economist at ICF. And I will pass it to Ramon.
Hi, Ramon Bueno. I live in the Brick Bottom Buildings in Ward 2, and I've been on the commission for I don't know how many, a few years. Who is next?
Would you like to perhaps Christine, you can jump in?
Sure. Hi, I'm Christine Blaze, Director of Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Environment and ex officio to the Commission, and I'll pass it to Jason.
Hi everyone, Jason Behrens. I'm an innovation specialist with Somerville Public Schools. I'm a part of the curriculum office. I'm off camera and will be short just for a little bit as I transition to my house. It was a late day working on some projects with some kiddos. I facilitate the Climate Change Education Committee, among other climate-related initiatives in the district. I also grew up in Somerville, should note. Used to be a resident long ago.
Awesome.
Kate, do you want to jump in?
Yep. My name is Kate Crowley. I'm the Environmental Policy Manager with the Office of Sustainability and Environment and the staff liaison for the Commission. And Garrett?
I am Garrett Anderson. I'm also in the Office of Sustainability. I'm the Energy Manager, joining as a guest today for the panel. Also a resident of Lagoon Square.
And Naomi?
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the late joining. I'm Naomi Gross. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for the Sustainability and Environment Office, and I live in Spring Hill.
Amazing. And if we could facilitate introductions from attendees as well.
Sean, whenever you would like, you have the ability to speak. I guess I should say it's also not required for attendees to introduce themselves, but you have the option to. I can take you off mute now. I'll put back on.
And Sean, please feel free to just raise your hand at any time if you'd like to say hello or if you have a question or comment for us. We are open at all times to that. Thank you for all of that. Let's see. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong agenda here. Okay. We have minutes from the October meeting to approve first. They were distributed or available on the website. Does anyone need a minute to review them quickly or slowly? Seeing no hands, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as submitted.
I'll second it.
Well, I will take that as a motion from Eliza. Would anyone like to second it?
I'll second it.
Seconded from Ramon. Thank you very much. All in favor, I guess say aye.
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 We'll vote in all possible ways here, raising hands. Okay. All well, that was unanimous, so I will accept that as a unanimous approval of the minutes. Thank you. Sounded like a great meeting, by the way. So thanks for that. Very focused and deep, and I really appreciated the minutes from that. So thank you for guys for that. And sorry to miss out.
I agree. I was, I wasn't able to join, but I saw the video when I came back, and I found it pretty informational. So thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, I should travel more often. Update on school decarbonization and grant applications, or potential grant applications. I think that's Garrett.
Yeah, I was at the last meeting and we were talking about some of the studies that we're pursuing and just school decarbonization efforts generally. So just following up from our last meeting, we talked about the decarbonization studies. So the studies we've procured, or we haven't procured, we've assigned a house doctor engineering firm, RFS, which is one of the engineering firms that the Capital Projects Division has employed. They've been assigned the task order and are beginning work now on the decarbonization studies of 6 buildings, Brown, Edgerly School, JFK, the Cummings School building, West Somerville, and also the Department of Public Works. They're doing the studies that we talked about essentially last time, the scoping of what a selective, periodized decarbonization strategy dealing with specific elements of the buildings over time, with combined with understanding sort of the overall end point of electrical need at each of these buildings. Again, just to kind of restate what we talked about last time, the electrical load for all of our buildings that to be in a fully decarbonized state will have to increase. We believe at every building, and so understanding what that number is can get us to starting the process with the utility, which in our experience, in Somerville and in talking to neighbors, neighboring cities like Cambridge, it's 18 to 24 months, right, to upgrade the full electrical load for a large commercial building like a school. So the end point of those studies is both coming to that number from a reasonable engineered approximation of what the decarbonized equipment would be and the needs for that school, and then also mapping out the strategy behind the meter, that is to say inside the building, for as specific equipment can be replaced, the domestic hot water system, the heating system, the ventilation system, sort of all the cooking systems, right? So all these schools have kitchens as well. All of those elements, how they could be done as part of either comprehensive modernizations or being done more selectively, based upon budgetary constraints, dealing with the equipment as it's aging out and replacing with an electrified solution. Having both the overall capacity at the building and then also improving the electrical infrastructure in specific areas. So, like, for example, a kitchen, right? So you're going to replace the gas stoves and the gas oven. You need to have both additional capacity at the main electrical room because you're now adding several hundred amperage of load to the kitchen, but then also what the sub panels would look like, what that kind of wiring would look like. So I'm getting a little bit too much into the weeds here on what the specifics of what decarbonization looks like. But the broad point is we've started that effort at those schools under this house doctor contract. And we're also, for all the rest of the schools, we're continuing to pursue the Green Schoolworks initiative through the Mass CEC, which will be the same kind of study. It's just that's taking a little longer to get that off and running because it's a grant process. But we're working with the utility and with Mass CC to get those commitments firmed up. So yeah, the upshot of it is, we're still on track to be doing those studies at all the schools and have begun for those that we're doing under the house doctor contract. Yeah, I don't know what else we want to. That's the update.
Yeah, thank you. Much appreciated, Courtney.
Yeah, that was really great and exciting to hear that kind of progress and thought is getting put into how to do decarbonization at the school. So I'm really happy to hear that. I have a couple of questions. I'm gathering from that then that it was determined not to apply for the TESI grant because you had to be further ahead in the process, but now
Well,
getting further ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we when the TESI grant came out, because that was right around the time we met last time. I think we talked about that. So we met with Capital Projects and with the engineering firm, and really the only project that would have been far enough along to pursue would have been the West Somerville project. And we started looking at the technical feasibility of getting the studies done by, I think it was December 3rd was the deadline, and that seemed difficult but not impossible. But the other element of it was the capital commitment on, the grant doesn't cover the full cost of the project. There's the other side of it is you would have to commit as a city, by December 3rd, the round numbers, tens of millions of dollars that would be needed to complete the full scope of that project. And we're just not in a position to be able to make that kind of commitment in this time frame. So that was really the determinative factor there, unfortunately. But again, back on the studies, the point of the studies partly is to develop a process where you can do these projects on a incremental schedule that within a municipality that has capital constraints, right? So you don't have to do let's see, what was I going to say? So last Friday, we visited with other capital staff. We visited the new net zero building in Cambridge on Vassal Lane. That school costs $320 million for a elementary middle school. So the kind of capital commitments.
Is that a private school? Is that the Montessori school?
Public
Okay.
school. No, it is a Montessori school, but it's a Cambridge public school. Our neighbors to the south, it was a beautiful school. It has a lot of the kinds of things that we're interested in, geothermal and the like. But the scale of the cost is sobering.
Which you don't have. It doesn't.
Study.
I just wanted to say that it doesn't have to be $320 million to
be
a sustainable school. Cambridge has
there was a lot of choices.
To put towards extras. And
that was not my intent to imply that. I guess I was just struck just by visiting it. What the scale of the expense was for that.
Where is that school?
It's on Vassal Lane, near Fresh Pond.
Off of
beautiful,
Bench.
beautiful.
Yeah. Or Concord.
But so back, I sidetracked myself talking about that visit. But the point of the studies and the design of the studies by intention is to allow decarbonization to happen component by component over time, if necessary. Doesn't mean it has to happen that way, but it sort of allows you the flexibility either to undertake a full modernization, emptying the school for a period of time, doing all that infrastructure work, doing all that major capital expense. That's one nature of those projects. The other nature of the projects is doing, in the business, they call them summer slammer projects. You do them in that 2-month period where the students aren't there, right? So there's two different kinds of ways to do that. But the schedules of those projects can determine the kind of scope that's available to do that work for the time that's available.
Did you say you had a second question?
I was just curious how you chose which schools were going to go through the House Doctor and which were going to go through Mass CUC.
Yeah, the Green Schoolworks grant has requirements about the student population of the schools and the eligibility of the schools for the study, the income, a percentage of income qualified students in those schools. So the schools that didn't qualify for Green Schoolworks are the ones that we are pursuing through this other method.
So it's Easton Healy, who are part of Mass CUC, and Argenziano.
East, Healy, Argenziano, Capuano, and the high school also.
Great, thank you.
Super, thanks, and sorry about that, Alexis. The mic is yours.
Thank you. I had one question, maybe a clarifying question for the minutes. But my follow-up question to something that Courtney had asked is, have we asked DOER for an extension? Because I wonder if there are other municipalities that are also experiencing this time crunch, and sometimes, depending on the funding source, they can be amenable to extending the timeline to respond to the project opportunity notice.
We haven't asked for an extension on this grant. And to clarify, it's not a matter of, well, it is a matter of the timing, but also, a month extension, a 2-month extension wouldn't necessarily be able to answer the bigger question of the capital commitment for the project overall, if that makes sense.
Super helpful. Any other questions? And also, I will open it up to attendees as well. Please raise your hand. Do you have a question, comment? All right. Seeing, hearing none. Thanks for all of that. This is exciting to hear. And Garrett, I was assuming you were coming for this particular segment. You are welcome to stay for the whole meeting if you'd like, but I will leave it to your discretion. Or
thanks.
maybe
Yeah, we'll stick around for a few minutes anyway.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, Garrett.
Moving along, we have a discussion on how OSE can facilitate sharing the city's climate work to improve public engagement. This is again a follow-on from the October meeting, I guess. So I'm handing it to Christine.
Great, thank you all. So last time that we met, we had a Canva, sort of Mura style board where we put lots of post-its on there, and we could talk through various answers to questions that city staff have posed to commission members, all around communication that members of the commission have with members of the community, what those conversations are like, and what the city can do to support those conversations. And it was noted last time that a couple members of the commission weren't present to participate in this discussion. So I wanted to offer to open that back. And we also didn't finish going through all of the questions either. So wanted to first open it up to folks to have the option to maybe set aside a couple minutes right at the top here for me to drop the link in the chat, and then we sort of take 5 minutes to review, and then we could have a conversation about the new answers and about takeaways from last time. And then we've also reviewed the feedback that we received and have prepared sort of a kind of a presentation of our, current resources that are publicly available online, and also had a couple follow-up questions too to maybe spark some conversation about what we can do to improve, and figure out how we can best support members of the commission. Does that sound like a good plan to everybody? Okay, great.
Sounds great to me.
Awesome. So I will drop the link in the chat here. If anybody cannot open the link, please let me know. And I will also share my screen so that everybody can see. Let's see, screen chat options.
I cannot access it. I do
You
not have
can't?
a
Okay.
Gmail account.
Okay. I will. Oh, are you visiting? Great. So let me share the screen. Can you see it now, Larry? And I might have to grant you access, and we might have to grant you access via email too. That's what we had to do last time, for a couple different folks. Ramon, are you able to access?
I can see.
Hey, Mom.
I can see the screen, but there was somewhere in connecting that it asked me for a code, but I don't see where the code is or where to put it in because I'm seeing the screen. So
Yeah, I think we went through that last time. There's some like authorization that you need to get.
I know, I'm trying to remember now what we did last time to fix this. Let me try to troubleshoot.
Hold on, I think I can change the access. I just changed it. The access. See if this link works now that I just put in the chat. Oh yeah, that's what I just did. Or you just did the same thing.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
that works.
okay.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So
Um,
oh, go ahead, Larry. I was going to say, do you want to give until like 7:30 to edit?
Sure. Yes,
Okay.
let's do that. Feel free to go off camera, and we'll come back at 7:30. And if we need more time, then we can probably take another 5 if we
Wait,
need it.
I'm sorry. I was a little distracted when you were going over. Are we looking over both the blue and the green side, or are we focusing more
Oh,
on the green?
good point. Yeah, Larry, last time we started with the blue side, and then we talked about the blue side. And then last time we started with the green side, but then we didn't have time to go through the answers. So that's kind of where we left off. Um, do we want to do blue and then kind of
I propose we
segment it?
just review the blue, and if
Okay.
Larry and Ramon feel like there's anything like devastatingly missing, feel free to add, but
Okay.
otherwise, let's focus on the green.
quick question. I'm seeing the screen, but it's not a full, so the text is very small. I didn't get to connect, I think, the right way, and I can't expand I see people participating, but
Are you able to get into the interface yourself? Because you won't be able to access it on
no,
on
I
shared
think I
screen.
missed I missed the boat when something flashed and then
Okay, here, click the link again that's in the chat.
Christine,
okay.
you can take the screen share down. That
Okay.
might be distracting.
Yeah. Okay. I'll take it down. The other thing I can do too is write the questions in the chat, and then you can
Okay.
respond in the chat, Ramon. Would that be helpful?
I'm seeing the bigger screen now. It's still very small print, but
Oh, it's going to be very small. So right on the bottom, there's a toggle.
oh yes.
And if you
Got
zoom in right there, then you
yeah,
can,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
it is tiny.
Okay. So we'll reconvene at 7:30. Eliza, your suggestion was to focus on the green. I may actually look at the blue as well,
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, why don't you review the blue?
Yeah.
But we just talked about it already, so
Yeah. I
do
can
a light
review.
touch.
Okay. See you in 3, but that might not be enough time. Maybe let's go to 7:35.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think we're gonna need like 10 minutes. Okay,
Okay.
that's great.
Here's
Okay, 7:35. How are we feeling? Do we want some more time? How are we feeling? Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Are we all set? Should I what I'll do
Yeah,
if we're all done, I'll share my screen so that the attend or is it on? Yeah, so that the attendees can see.
sounds good.
Okay, great. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? Hide the
Looks good if
Okay.
you're able to move that sidebar out of the way. Yeah, looks great.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah, there were like so many floating bars. Here we go. So first we'll just review the blues. It looks like there are some new ones. Oops, trying to move around here. So the first three questions, where are the conversations taking place? What questions are ICAC members receiving, and how would you like to be able to respond to them? So let's see, we have Reddit. I like the believe it or not, definitely believe it. Um, um, I will run through these unless if somebody wants to jump in and add a little more to the blue side, feel free to do so. Otherwise, we'll, like Eliza said, we'll focus more on the green side. Um, let's see, we have with neighbors at the dog park, Somerville High School Youth Climate Club, um, socials, email in person, not necessarily climate focused. Um, in the context of advocacy, like bikes and pedestrians and zoning, with community groups and how their work interfaces with climate and resiliency. Similarly, community meetings, sustainability events like Pumpkin Smash, Climate Ambassadors, and Sustainaville. How the city is, oh, I'm sorry, more acknowledgements. Oh, I think that's more acknowledgements. Get ready for new street treat project related to signage. I'm not sure. That was me, but I'm not sure what that means. Maybe it was a note from last time. Um, let's see. And then what questions are members receiving? How is the city implementing climate forward goals around city-owned buildings, and how are they taking the lead? How can we mimic natural systems in our city infrastructure, including stormwater management, green space, carbon sequestration, and natural building materials? What is the current status of different projects, and how can we get involved? How can we incorporate climate forward during the school day? Teens are hungry to learn more and get involved. We love that. How is Somerville coordinating with neighboring communities on regional issues and or shared lessons learned, such as overflow with Alewife Brook? What's going on and what role are we playing? And then there are tactical questions that come up frequently, such as the status of composting or food waste. What are electric vehicle when are electric vehicle chargers coming to my street? And are there strategic questions that also come up, though sometimes vaguer, like what is the city doing, etc. Okay, so I see a couple themes there, definitely. And then how would we like to be able to respond with easy resources to direct people to that are regularly updated? If it gets too noisy over here, Kate, I might ask you to read for me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, so then moving into the green, we have what can the city do to support this goal? Um, what information and resources would be helpful? So um, climate forward check-in, what are the season's priorities? How is the city doing on meeting its climate forward goals? Are there big projects or low-hanging fruit that can be taken on to get closer to our goals? a dashboard to track goals and actions undertaken to meet
Sorry,
those goals?
can I interrupt you really quickly,
Yeah.
Kate? The climate forward check-in, what are the season's priorities? Is that like whoever put that one, was that sort of like a quarterly, like, here's what we're focusing on for this quarter, or like December is heat pump month? Because that's like an interesting, I like that one, and I was wondering more.
Does anybody claim that one? It doesn't have a name attached to it. So,
It's possible it was mine from last time, because that was the general concept of something I brought up. Um, but I don't remember writing what are the seasoned priorities. But I do think that getting a better sense. I know that there's lots and lots of data, but it's kind of just thrown out in a list, I feel like. I mean, I know you can sort it, but really focusing on like here were the big points of climate forward. This is what we're doing. And so I think Eliza, your interpretation of that, that sounds good to me.
Yeah, because I mean, I do think the thing about climate forward is it's so
Yeah.
dense and there's so many different, goals and domains and, it even when we distill it down to a non-technical audience, which I think we've done really well, it can get super overwhelming. And so figuring out a way to sort of like bite size it off, either in terms of like this is what's probably on your mind, given that it's December, you're, November, you're interested in like heating and things related to, that sort of home insulation and whatnot. And like, are there things related to that, that are on your mind that can tap into Somerville Climate Forward? Because I do think like a theme of a lot of these is like, how can we make it relatable to the community and how can we show, you know, tie either goals or progress to things that community members maybe are already thinking about. So I guess I just prior like that seems like a really good idea. I like that one a lot.
Yeah, and if I can piggyback on that, I think last time too, that one I think came at the tail of a conversation that we had about the newsletter, and I think you were sharing how helpful it is to sort of have these bunches of, kind of related material. So, if there's one newsletter that's focused on heat and then another one focused on cooling, then you can share that easily. So yeah, we've talked a lot about that. So I'm looking forward to talking about it more. I think that's great.
And I think the challenge is, how to connect and communicate to different sectors of the city, different organizations and neighboring folks, whatever. Um, but also how to keep things relatively simple. Because, having a lot of sources sounds good, but then I think for a lot of people, it just means like, oh, I have to be aware of so many different entry points. So I think the challenge is how to evolve a combination of the newsletter online. And I mean, we've had discussions or there's been mentions of the dashboard, but I haven't really heard too much about that. If there's some semi-central interface that has a way to tap into different dimensions of all this stuff, but not without it being like, oh my God, I have to learn about so many entry points and how do I know how to, I think that's the challenge. How to keep it simple and relatively centralized so that if we communicate with other city organizations that maybe they can include that in their links and things like that. But they're not going to want to do that if there's like 8 links and some more technical than others. And so I think, I don't know, I don't have a good answer, but I think keeping things simple, but yet being able to navigate in a smooth way to the different dimensions of, one is tracking the progress of what's being worked on and seeing what the near-term priorities are and the longer ones. Um, Easier said than done, but I think that's kind of how I see it, avoiding too many entry points.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Ramon. That's a great point. And thank you, Larry, for putting the dashboard in the chat too. If we Yeah, if we have time after this, we can do a screen share of the website and sort of walk through maybe what we have now and how it's organized and maybe get your feedback on it, what's working, what's not working, and maybe relate it back to a couple of these comments too. This is great. Okay, and then we have, how is the city doing on meeting its climate forward goals? Are there big projects or low hanging fruit that can be taken on to get closer to our goals? Absolutely. A dashboard to track goals and actions undertaken to meet those goals. Great.
That one was mine, and I was just saying, I mean, I love the dashboard in the sense that you can directly tie it back to the climate plan, but or climate forward plan, but like a big picture dashboard that's sort of more like graphically oriented, or
Mhm.
again, maybe to that earlier point, like focusing on a theme or two that is going to be particularly like relevant or interesting to people.
Yeah, we would love to hear. We are have something in the works and would love to hear your feedback and ideas for that as we're thinking about what the dashboard 2.0 and 3.0 are going to look like.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's super interesting because I love the dashboard too, and I feel like I'm, for the action I happen to be going to the dashboard to look at, like it's actually missing the color, the nuance, like the what is actually happening, and so
Mm.
and I don't necessarily advocate for having city staff keep each 77, write an essay for each 77 action item or however many action item to keep that regularly up to date. But if there's a way to sort of like do the occasional deep dive or even be responsive to community input and selecting something to do a deep dive on every month or every season, that might be like an interesting way to address that.
Yeah, that's great. And Alexis, I saw your hand. Do you want to, and then I saw it go down. Do you want to add anything?
I forgot what I was going to add.
Okay. Um, and then we have, if you remember, feel free to jump in. And then we have regularly updated FAQs that address the literal most frequently asked questions, maybe crowdsource the questions by using the newsletter to solicit ideas. Definitely. Should the Climate Action Commission have its own newsletter or website, social presence, like some other commissions? We were when we were going through this had it's something that we've sort of been talking a little bit about in our planning meetings for these commission meetings, and we have it on the agenda to discuss if we have time. But if not, I think, yeah, that sounds like a great idea, directly related. Um, and then the other question, anything to add on that one before we jump to the other question? And then the next question or last question is, how would you like the city to communicate different types of information and how often? So we have one update and then slash the commission meetings, which is great. And interactive, easily accessible website. They did this cool thing. Go check it out here. Could we repost the newsletter in blog form? Find the domain you're interested in. Here's what you should be doing right now. I think that really encapsulates the conversation. One of the biggest takeaways, I think, from the last meeting. Which is good. And then we have the Sustainable newsletters. Can we make this searchable on the website? Just noting that that is at the bottom of the website, but we'll go through that now and see again how that's working um uh and talk through what we're looking into to see how we can make that more accessible. And then noting finding it on the website is difficult. Um, how to connect. Oh, how to connect the emergency. Again, this is a note from last time. I really need to add more context next time. Gonna have to go back and look at the recording for that one. Um, more visual storytelling across different platforms, sharing some of the successes that the city has had. That's great feedback. Newsletters, blog of recent and relevant info, town hall format or AMA. Does anybody want to claim that one or say more?
Yeah, I penciled that in at the last second. So sorry for the shorthand, but
Yeah.
just finding ways to be super responsive to community members who do have questions. So, an Ask Me Anything format, which can be on Reddit or it can be anywhere. It's basically a virtual town hall kind of approach. I know that there's a whole can of worms that you open when you try to run one of those things. So I get that that's complicated, but just complicated and also opens up risks. But I'm just trying to sort of close that loop with being responsive to the questions that do come up often without necessarily burdening staff on updating everything at the same time when no one's going to have questions about certain things. So.
Mhm. Great. Eliza.
Yeah, Larry, your comment there just made me think that, with a new administration coming in and new council members coming on board, this is also an opportunity for us to um, do something like a town hall or some sort of presentation. I don't know, that's not the right word, but something probably more innovative or interesting than that, but just to sort of like get the high level points. And I know when I was talking to Councilmember Maba, like over the last couple of weeks, he was asking about like, what do I need to know about Somerville Climate Forward also? And I know like we've talked to him, I know you probably have as well, Christine, like over the years on this. So I think like putting it in front of people, particularly newer folks again, so that they can also help be messengers on this is really valuable.
Great. Thank you so much. This is such valuable feedback. And I wanted to just know, oh, one second. So we were going to do, I think the next part of our sort of plan here was to do uh, a screen share of the website and sort of talk through what's working and what's not working and what could be improved. And recognizing that Naomi is here because she also wanted to weigh in and give her sort of ask more questions and give feedback and sort of talk through ideas that she had on how to implement some of these. And I want to make sure that we have time for her too. So Naomi, is it okay if I pass it over to you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Happy to be here with all of you again. I really appreciated reading the Canva board from last time and looking at it together again. I might start by quickly giving an overview as to like my general approach to outreach currently, both general, passive, and then more active outreach, and then go into the website itself, and then like upcoming plans that I have that I would love feedback and your thoughts on. Um, so the like existing primarily like online resources that I maintain actively are the newsletter. I've really appreciated the feedback that I've received on that. I think I've been getting really good engagement on it, and that's been really wonderful. So putting more energy into that has been good. I think part of things that I've done there have been like given Josh, who is the sustainability planner, like a consistent platform that he is able to talk about what he's doing ongoing. And then Shannon, as our energy advisor, is doing something similar. So thinking about that as sort of a mechanism for like ongoing updates from specific sectors. has been something I'm doing. That newsletter is archived and available online, but it is not currently searchable. And I'm trying to figure that out with the web team to see what it would look like to format that in a blog, recognizing that there are like technical limitations. I'm not a coder. I don't understand that process. So I don't want to make any promises, but I'm looking into it. I also maintain an Instagram and Facebook for the department. It has similar content to the newsletter, but I think that the folks that are on those platforms and the newsletter are not sort of a one-to-one. And through both of those social media platforms, it's mostly directing traffic to the website and project-specific actions that people can do, either, sign up for a new heat pump rate, make sure you're enrolled in Mass Save, or join a focus group sort of mentality. I also like tap the city newsletter and social media, other relevant departments, and then really heavily rely on community partners, schools, that sort of thing to get the word out. And then for like that all is like primarily pretty project specific at this point. And the general information sharing that I have been doing, I guess over the past year has been like tabling, which has been really effective. I think, Eliza, to your point, being really responsive to the questions and needs of people has been an opportunity to engage in Climate Forward and talk about the broader work that the department is doing while not overwhelming people by giving them like a deluge of information. So really having really like wonderful conversations. I was at the Winter Farmers Market this Saturday and had some great discussions through this like sort of deep canvassing style method. We also rolled out blue bike posters and big belly trash bin posters that are sort of curiosity minded ideas around like how can you get involved, and we have reoriented the Sustainable website, which I will talk about in a bit, around a lot of those like generalized posters. Okay, so that's like sort of a brief overview of some of the outreach and engagement activities that I sort of maintain, or methods, I guess. We really have like 3 main websites, which I don't think, oh, maybe I can't screen share, that we maintain. The Sustainaville website, which I'm sure you are all familiar with, is I think the one that I primarily try to direct people to, because we understand it and we understand Sustainaville as this idea that like climate action is not just held by our department, it's not just held by the city as a municipal institution, it's held by all of us. And so I've really worked hard. Sorry, I'm trying to multitask here. It's not going well.
Do you want me to screen share, Naomi?
Nope, I got it. Okay, here we go. To try and orient this Sustainable website to be about community action, really like what can you do? And so currently the community programs are at the top. I'll admit I need to update this, but it's really focused on if you're thinking about like energy, then what can you do around that? You can work with the energy advisor. You can opt up through community choice. And so it's not, previously this page was oriented through a climate forward lens, which I think was decreasing people's capacity to actually engage with a lot of the programming that we are working on really hard. And so we sort of flipped it to start with this community action, like, and then we can talk about, sort of like more of the intellectual, what the city is working on, what we are working on through the 5 actions around climate forward. And then we have reports if people want to get deeper in the weeds as you get further. At the bottom, this is where you can sign up for the newsletter. This is where you can read past newsletters. If I click it, maybe my internet is a little slow. It'll open up an archive where you can find them all and share. They're shareable links. So you could, in the meantime, as I work on trying to develop something more functional, you can share newsletters through this process. The other website that is maintained is this climate action, climate forward webpage, which is where our progress reports are, which is where our vision, and it's a little bit more interactive than a static plan. And this is also where you can get the dashboard through so you understand the context of why we're tracking these metrics, and then you can go and explore it. Okay.
Could you
Those
show
are the
that a little more? The
Oh,
dashboard.
yes, sorry. I am happy to. So we have a purpose and then the status of actions where just generally our actions are within different stages. And then it goes into each action, a summary of the action, and then the status of that action. Emily Sullivan, our climate change program manager, is much more involved in this than I am, so I'm not going to take any credit, but can direct questions to her if you have them.
And I'm wondering, like, this is all like amazing, such detailed information, but I think it goes a little bit to maybe what I think what I was saying, and maybe others earlier. It's hard to see the big picture from it.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like a laundry list, which in some ways it has to be, but in others I would love like a description of what this all means. This is getting like where as a result of this, we've done like if you just like hang on to one, like stay there for a second. Trying to see if there's an example.
Naomi, can you click on the click to read about our vision goals and
Oh,
strategy? I
yes,
know
I
that's not
can.
quite that's not quite the, I think,
So that's good. It like links to what the climate forward says it wants to do, which is helpful. But then I want to know in a similar summary or a pie chart or something more visual and colorful what really actually is happening towards it, which is there, but hard to sum up, which is, I think, why I can't answer the question when I've been asked, how are things going with climate forward? Like, where does it stand? What's being done? It's hard to summarize because there's a lot happening, but also because it's diffuse.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, and that's the balancing act of like, if there's a way to summarize it up, that's really cool, but that might not be completely possible. And instead, if we pick like a certain domain or a theme, and sort of every month we cycle through that, so it's like, here's what's happening on waste, or whatever, it would allow us to still keep some of the like the granularity and nuance without just completely like fire hosing like people. And again, I think I said this last month, so to repeat myself, I mean, I think the newsletter is really getting a lot of traction. I think people are reading them. I think they're really well, bite-sized information, very tangible. And I mean, I've heard from quite a few people that they're really enjoying it, and I enjoy them myself. So if there's a way that we can sort of like use that communication device and pick out a piece of it, like, something like this season or, this theme, I do think that that might get people engaged. But I agree with you, Courtney. I wish there was a way we could sort of roll it up, but I wonder, I'm not sure, like that may not be possible. So maybe instead of rolling it up, we just highlight different areas.
Well, one thing in one of the prior websites that you showed, you had information and then you had these four icons that were like the broad categories of climate forward. And I think that kind of visualization really helps to kind of like, oh yeah, that's the big picture. So on something as detailed as this on the dashboard, which I think, is a good thing to have, that maybe starting with those big picture things, and then for each of the sections, which gets into like the little things, to maybe have a version of those icons where one that this is the detail for is a little bigger and the other are smaller ones next to it, but you can always see that, oh, this is this branch of the four categories or whatever, and this is the bigger one because that's what we're detailing here. And when you go to the next section, the other one is bigger because but they're always the adjacent ones as like a reminder of how it all fits together. Something like that with a little bit more visualization, I think would really help. I don't know if that may conveyed what I had in mind, but
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I can bring that to Emily. I think, Eliza, to your point, I think you using the newsletter, I'm hesitant to add like additional things to maintain because I think
yeah,
then we'll get stretched too thin and not be able to do any of them well. And so, you using the newsletter, I think trying to make that more functional and but as a mechanism of highlighting sort of departmental goals, I think is an interesting idea. I think um, I will add it to my list of thinking around like what my upcoming sort of like general goals are. I'm going to mention, I recognize it's 8:05, so I don't want to take everyone's time for so long, but I think effectively based on your feedback, developing a brochure that's like just a general information brochure about what Sustainaville is. And I know that we've had some in the past prior to my time. So I would love to be able to like crowdsource thoughts and perspectives about what you think would be the most valuable information in a brochure. Um, Currently I'll like throw out some ideas and then you can critique them. Um, Basically like an intro into what climate change in Somerville is like. I think people have a broad understanding of climate change, generally speaking, but not necessarily what are the local impacts. So starting there as a grounding, and then you'll open it up into a triad of sort of some broad goals that we have, community actions, and then like city actions, what we as a city is doing. Are there other like content areas or um like questions that you are often asked that you would love to be answered in a general brochure?
I'd have to think about that framing a little bit more. Like leading with like I wonder about leading with the impacts on Somerville, right? Because if you lead with like, well, all these basements are flooding and they're gonna flood more often, then you go through these actions and it sort of implies that, well, if we do all of this, your basement isn't going to flood as often, which could be a little misleading depending on
Totally.
depending on the actions. So I just I don't know if there's another way to lead people in that feels very tangible and real and personal without necessarily saying without necessarily giving them false impressions about what the actions would lead to, I guess.
I mean, to
Uh,
go back to Ramon's point, I mean, I do think the more visuals we can get in there, even if the content is still dense, denser, is really helpful. Like I could see, a one page snapshot or, sort of one page on each of the domains. I think there are five, maybe I'm wrong, but where we sort of raise up the sort of most action oriented, meaning like the city is taking the most action on, or there is the most potential to take action on, or it is the most relevant to residents as the sort of like five, again, four or five sort of like main, we could do like a infographic or something again that's like very highly visual and not try to cover everything, but just cover like a smattering of things. And, again, I think it's the flooding, it's the heat, insulation, heating, home cooling, the things that are impacting residents that people are going to be, initially interested in. But I also think this is an opportunity for us, like going back to that really detailed dashboard, like what are the ones that we're all the way, to the right on? Like, this is also an opportunity for us to say, you probably don't care a lot about our combined sewer system, but like look at the progress that the city has made on these like boring but like very impactful, you know, elements of it. So I think it could be, a mix of sexier topics and then ones where we can demonstrate like great progress. And then again, back to Ramon's point, I think the key thing is like infographics and visuals, like very little text, very much, accessible, infographics. And I think that, hopefully would encourage people to get interested enough that then if they really cared to, they could go back and look at, the other collateral that we've got up on the website. And I guess that was sort of my point of the newsletter. Like I think we're getting a broader audience than just those of us who have always cared. And so if we can like drag people in to the materials that you guys have already created, then it doesn't, force you to recreate the wheel, um, so that, you're not feeling, as you said, sort of stretched. But I just think it needs more visual appeal.
Yeah, I
Yes,
would agree
absolutely.
with that, and I just it also sparks like just being clear on perhaps or clarifying on who the who it is that we think will be handing this brochure out to. And I know it's obviously it's available to citywide, but like what's your use case or who's that audience that you have most in mind when you're handing it to them? Is it someone who you need to make the case that climate change is happening, and personal, or is it the person who's like, hey, you know what, I've heard about this climate change thing. What can I do and what's the city doing? Or is it like this is an emergency, like where do they sit on that like Yale Six Americas spectrum? And for that primary audience, knowing how to address that audience, and that I think that would help you frame your entry.
I think I might flip that question back at you all. You're the one that are as interested in you're having these conversations in the community, and I would love to distribute this through you. And so, who are you interacting that you would want to give a brochure to?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's the I'm trying to convince someone of climate change. I think it's the person that Courtney said, which is like, so what is the city doing on on climate? Like literally, like just I'm interested. I'm not,
Yeah, or
questioning.
I sit on the MSBA Winter Hill School and Brown School Building Committee, and I was hiring the architects, and they were saying, well, we know that, not knowing I was on this commission, they're like, well, we know that there's climate forward, and we want to get the update and see how this fits in, and that's where we'll be focused on. And I felt like I couldn't really fully answer it as it relates to climate forward, how to tell them about how it's going.
And I think it also even came up in the context of those ward meetings. I was joking last time, like, why didn't we get a whole like little 3 slides? The emergency management guy like talked about all this cool like sexy stuff, and I was like, well, that's also cool. Like that's us too. Like we do that. So like what would be the 3 slides? If as you're going out to the different community, I know we did. It just happened to be Ward 6 was the one that I was at, and so there wasn't sort of a special topic for Ward 6. So I didn't mean to, say that, but like that we didn't have a spot in others, but more just like if we were to have 3 slides, and particularly again with a new administration coming in, I think this is an awesome opportunity to like make sure that our collateral gets into the general talking points of like why Somerville is so cool. And it is a huge, I mean, if you think back to like Mayor Joe, like he talked about climate incessantly, right? And there were like some like very high level points that he put out there. And I don't know if he always understood what he was saying, but he like put them out there, right? And I think we could be really relevant again. Not that we haven't become relevant, but like I think we could. I think there's a way that our talking points are going to be picked up more enthusiastically, and it would be great to be able to, like, as you said, sort of like hand out this brochure and be like, here are the talking points, so that every meeting you go in, and when someone asks you about what's happening in Somerville on climate, you could just pick one of these infographics and sort of spout out the update, or here are the 10 projects that are like most impactful that are in in progress right now on issues related to EV chargers and energy monitoring and home insulation and saving, money for residents on energy bills and our sewer system, or what, again, whatever the 5 topics are. So I think, to answer your question really specifically and sort of to touch at Larry's, I think it is like it is the media soundbite to get someone interested to look more. And that media is like external media as well as internal media, like our own constituents. I think it's like all of the above, but I think someone will, people may hear different, people will hear what they want to hear in it, and that might make them follow up differently.
You know, this reminds me of something that I've seen around. And so we're talking about ways of making information more accessible to people who are in some fashion interested. Some are very interested in how to get the information they need. Others are just want to come in at a higher level. But one thing that I've noticed once in a while around the city is seeing a giant, I don't know if it's called a poster board or something about something that OSC is doing or whatever. And I find those things are really interesting and valuable because that's the other way of communicating is just putting things out in front of people that may not be looking for this information, but all of a sudden you go, oh, look at that. And it's, it was a big letters, and I mean,
It was on a trash can, right? Like on the sides of the trash
yeah,
cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
it was
saw that
And
too. It was
our
cool.
the
okay,
majority of blue
you know,
bike posters in the
several
city
feet
Oh
wide, and
yeah,
are
I
that's right.
branded.
those are a good idea to keep recycling the topics or something. I mean, I realize everything takes work and time and effort and money, whatever, but if there's a simple way to periodically do that in different parts of the city, it just, you can hit different audiences that you would never find coming to your websites or
Mhm.
no matter how friendly they get, because everybody's busy on their lives, So putting it out there in a different direction, not coming in but going out, is worthwhile to whatever degree is feasible. I mean, I realize that everything takes time, work, energy, but
Yeah, I think yeah. I appreciate that thought, Ramon. I think we developed those posters in part because one, a lot of the blue book posters were outdated, and so we wanted to design some new ones that are effectively evergreen until we want to replace them. And it's based on this uh, like analysis that I read around curiosity as a way of getting people involved. And so they're all framed in questions around like, oh, your neighbors are doing something. Like, do you want to do that as well? But
Perfect.
giving more openings, I think, is what I'm hearing you say as well. So I appreciate that.
ways
I
So
recognize.
ways to contact different audiences, audiences that are
Mhm,
interested, because they already know something, and then the other one is people who are just going to stumble into it and you go, oh,
yeah.
mhm.
So I just want to just watching the clock here and want to make sure that we leave space for open comment first. So we went smoothly from one agenda item to the other, which were kind of blended in anyway, but on public engagement in general and then the website in particular. So if any attendees have comment or questions on that, please feel free to raise your hand. And while we're going to pause for a second to see if anyone raises their hand. And Naomi, do you have any last questions you'd like to leave us with, and we can email you to respond? I don't know if we got all the way through your through what you were intending to walk through.
I think you've given me a lot of actions to think about. So I'm sure I'll be back in another meeting to update you on my progress and
Sounds
chat more
good.
then.
And
Thanks for
and
joining.
yeah, Naomi, we'll probably have you back to mine you for ideas too on all of these initiatives. So thank you.
Love it. And the offer for a comment is continuously open, so please feel free to raise your hand. And our last agenda item is on updating the draft bylaws and the draft CAC job posting and where we are with all of that.
Yeah. Well, just no, I think it's the second to last one because we have the website too. So maybe we table like just all of the website stuff till next time. Does that
Oh,
sound
sorry.
okay?
I had thought the ICAC website update was part of the public outreach. I misunderstood that. So yes, we will table that part, but
Okay.
let's work on let's get an update on the bylaws and the job posting part. particularly just even if it's just an update and we don't have to talk about the advertising part.
Yeah, so excitingly, all the materials are with comms for review and translation, which is exciting. So we're just waiting for that process to be complete. So that's the job posting, and we're currently working on like an abbreviated version of the flyer, and that would be more kind of like eye-catching. And Naomi had a great idea to do two different versions of it, one for the schools and one for kind of general public posting. So um, those are all in progress, and as soon as they're ready to go live, we're ready to start advertising them.
Yeah, and if I could jump in, I think we also wanted to, in addition to like providing that update for you all, like if we could take a few minutes to chat about kind of like in anticipation of that being ready to share broadly and, being ready to
Mhm.
post, like what does that outreach look like, especially from the ICAC's perspective? And so I think that's kind of like a big question to think about the outreach strategy, especially there's so many new members that you're looking to fill, and then also kind of from a perspective of getting different, like widening the net for who might be interested in joining the CAC. So I think that's a big question that's like, we are not going to cover that in 9 minutes, but if as this is like moving through the comms and translation at the city side, if someone on the ICAC would maybe be interested in kind of taking that question about like an outreach strategy from this meeting and thinking on it and potentially meeting with some of us in OSC before the December meeting, I think that could like give us a really good head start on being ready to kind of um, share that widely once it's available. So just wanted to pause for
Yeah.
reactions to that.
And I'll just layer on top of that we have some very targeted outreach to do as well. So we have like two youth members in different age groups, and that we probably need to be very intentional about how we go about outreach and how we bring people in into the process, as well as I think like a business community whom we haven't really engaged with in the past and would love to have more engagement with. So, like, those are some very targeted segments that we should be thoughtful about.
That's what I was just going to ask about. Like, is there a newsletter equivalent in the business community to what like the schools have that the family liaisons put out every week? Like, is there, I mean, not probably not every week, but is there like a monthly or a quarterly like Somerville business newsletter?
Yeah, there's like some of the organizations that pop into my mind are like, Union Square Main Streets, East Somerville Main
Yeah,
Streets, Chamber of Commerce. Yeah, I think there's
great.
a couple other ones. Yeah, but definitely that's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, I was even thinking, I know we're not targeting elementary school kids for positions, but like for parents, the newsletters for the schools
Mhm.
are very well read. Um, and I think probably between members of this commission, we could hit many schools or almost all the schools, um, with our connections to the family liaisons. And even just like a small blurb in the weekly, newsletter, you're going to get thousands of eyes on it.
Well, th this reminds me, I forget the name of the project, but during COVID, there was that funding that enabled a lot of community engagement. And supposedly there was a document or something being prepared of all the neighborhood and grassroots groups and, just the more updated things. And I know that there were people who were kind of interested in when that became finalized to have groups have that as a resource. Like if they think, oh, I like to reach people in the city who concerned about this or that, like having the best source. Is that available? I mean, that did that ever get finalized? Because that might be
Mm,
a good thing to take advantage of. A lot of work went into that.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, that resource was maintained. It moved off of our our slate after a while, and I think wound up with comms. So we'll definitely reach out to them.
Yeah, I
Kate's
guess I,
point, like, would it make sense to put together like a Google Doc or some sort of like place that we can like put ideas, or do you want us to meet again? Like, what works better for open meeting law and all
yeah, I
the
think
other things?
probably not a Google Doc. So I think either like if there's one or two people that would be kind of interested in kind of diving a little bit deeper before the next meeting, I think it would be great because I think probably OSE has a lot of, especially Naomi and Christine, like suggestions for like all of our outreach, avenues and ways that we already can add to a document. So I think if there are one or two volunteers who would be interested in taking this on before the next meeting, we can follow up via email and maybe do a shared doc and schedule a meeting. Yeah, I think that would be best.
I mean, I'm happy to do it, but I raise my hand a lot, so I will step back and defer to anyone else.
Happy also to volunteer, but Ramon, you have really deep connections also in parts of the community that we don't. So I'd volunteered you.
I'm interested in helping. I happen to be in a pretty busy phase on a number of other things, but if there's something being discussed, I could join and be part of that. But that's one of the reasons why I was curious about that uh, from the COVID days, that effort that went into bringing together a lot of valuable information. At least that's the way I recall it being presented, uh, because it would make it easier to say, oh, yes, that's who to contact for these things, whether it's by sector, by neighborhood, by the population class, uh, but I'm hesitant I can't take the lead on this, but I'd be glad to participate in the conversation. Uh,
Any other takers? Um, Kate, it sounds like you're stuck with me and Eliza, and we'll find ways to loop Ramon in. How's that? As well as everyone else, because why
Yeah,
not?
no, that sounds good. And I think also to be clear, this is not like you guys are going to do all the outreach, just kind of like bringing it back with some ideas to the group about like, this is a rough timeline for when you might want to start reaching out. These are general groups. Do people have reactions to that?
Yeah.
Just strategies for the coming months once we post it. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think that would be
You're not necessarily looking for contacts or anything like that.
yeah, I think
You
we
have
can
all
fill
that.
all in the details. It's more like kind of starting to think about a
Yeah,
larger strategy.
sure. Sounds
Mhm.
good. Yeah, happy to do that.
Yeah, and
Any?
oh, sorry, can I ask one more follow-up question with this?
Yeah, absolutely.
Curious about the posting timeline, because the translations might be completed in early December. We might be able to post it then. We might get more response if we wait until after the holidays, though. But we can also leave it open too, right? So any preferences from folks on when we do that initial push? Because we usually get the most, you know, engagement with that first push.
Ooh, opinions. Alexis, you're first.
Yeah, I'm of the mindset to post it earlier and leave it open for longer. Because I also wonder if I know the holidays are busy, but sometimes it's also a downtime for people to respond to things like this. Um, it's challenging, I think, particularly with like the youth outreach. And so that we might have to think about a different strategy there. But I certainly would like to be able to send it to people sooner than later.
Thank you, Alexis. I'm guessing Courtney was going to say the same thing.
Well, no, but that convinced me that's fine. As long as it's open, as long as it's open enough time past the new year, because that time of year is really hard, I think, for some people to focus on things and gets really busy. So I just want to, I appreciate too that you might do have down, some people have downtime. So as long as we give at least like 3 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks on the other end, good.
that
That's
highlights
what I
it.
was gonna ask. Is there any limit? Like, can we not leave it open longer than X number of days?
Oh no, there's I think on the at least the current policy is we have to leave it open for a minimum of 6 weeks.
Okay, so then great. I agree with everything Alexis said. Like, let's get it open to catch the people that have downtime, and we'll leave it open in the new year for the people that didn't.
Yeah, and the new year actually is an active time where people are thinking about doing new things. So even if they're not completely down over the holidays, that first weekend of January is often when some folks sort of turn up. I know like headhunters like that for that period in January too. They hold off in December and jump in on Jan 1 or Jan 2. Alexis.
We can also just make joining the commission everyone's New Year's resolution. So
Sounds like a newsletter idea, Naomi.
That's the campaign. That's it.
Taking notes.
Ramon.
Yeah, I think within the whatever the 6 weeks are going to be, it's a good opportunity to make sure that we tap not only the sustainable newsletter when it comes out. I assume it might come out somewhere in those 6 weeks, but any other shareable dissemination with some other friendly organizations that you guys have, you know, getting it out in as many different forums, I think is crucial.
Mhm.
All right, and is there public comment on the job posting for the CAC? I will leave that question out there and ask if there, oh, I guess we're not allowed to do new business anymore, huh? It has to be on the agenda. Okay, no new business then. But Ramon's gonna put in there
Yeah, I guess
anyway.
just scheduling very briefly, we haven't sent out the December invite. I don't see any conflicts with the second Tuesday in December. So, barring any a lack of a quorum, I'll send out a Zoom invite for the second Tuesday in December. So let me know sooner rather than later if that doesn't work for you.
Yes, that would be December 9th. The evening of December
I
9th would be remote. The Tuesday. Yep. Sorry,
I
Courtney.
have a conference that I'm going to be at, including evening on
Uh-huh.
that day.
All right.
Sorry, what date did we say again?
That was Tuesday,
The
December
9th.
9th.
I could do the 16th if others could, but I could also miss my
I
first
cannot
meeting.
do the 16th, but I do also wonder like if we should move up. Like once you get down there, it's like holiday parties and like maybe we do like the second just to
Which
get it
is
out of
just
the
2
way.
weeks from now, though.
Oh,
Isn't
you're
it?
right. Good. Yes, it is. You're right. It is 2 weeks from now.
I am also unavailable on December 9th.
What about the 8th? Should we do another Monday?
I can do that.
I can't, but if others can.
It sounds like maybe a doodle poll is the right way to go. So I can do a doodle poll for the week of December 8th for a few
Thank you,
days. We'll
Kate.
see what works. Yeah.
Ramon, yeah,
Could
get it
you
in
could I
there.
ask, could you throw in Monday the 15th just in case? Because that's the only time I could do.
I'll give you 60 seconds, Ramon. What do you got?
I was just curious. It's great having Jason join us for the whole session. And if we had more time, I would have said it'd be great to hear his take on from the perspective of the school audience, not just the staff, but also the student body. If there were any observations that would be good for us to learn about, whether it's in relation to the postings for students, but just in general, what should the commission know about where students are at in relation to all of this? Hi, Jason. I see you.
Hey, I've been in the middle of a couple of meltdowns. So I've just been looking after some kiddos. But yeah, I'd be happy to do some sort of short report, kind of like what Naomi did, um,
Great.
related to the schools, and can absolutely give a little bit more feedback next time.
Yeah, that'd be super helpful
That'd be great.
if you're able to.
Thanks for
Okay,
joining.
Thank you all. Thank you,
I
Jason.
think we are adjourned. Thanks all.
Good night.
8:34.
Again.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye.